So ladies and gentlemen, with this, it is now time for us to move ahead with our fireside chat, and we look at talking about Deconstruct, a real-world generative AI use case in fintech. Well, we believe that since a lot of you are here in the room, remember to hashtag GFF as one word with all your key insights during the course of all our 3 days on social media. With that being said, allow me an opportunity to now invite our speakers on stage. Let's give it up for Mr. Vishal Anand Kanvaty, Chief Technology Officer of National Payments Corporation of India, along with Mr. Vishal Dhupar, Managing Director, NVIDIA. Let's give both of them an iconic round of applause as we welcome them on stage. Vishal Anand Kanvaty along with Mr. Vishal Dhupar.
This is Vishal Square. I thought the applause could be a little louder.
Good morning, everyone. A warm welcome to the Global Fintech Forum. I think this is a great topic to start with. I think we have seen, or we have maybe last year or a couple of years back, we were talking about pilots, POCs happening on AI. I think now we have really leapfrogged and gotten into actual use cases, going live with Gen AI use cases. And who else, better than Vishal Dhupar, who has been at it for a long time, who has seen it all, on how the whole journey of Gen AI started with few pilots and scaled up so fast. So welcome, Vishal. Welcome to the fireside chat. I think we have seen a lot of hype around Gen AI. I think hopefully this session we will see, what's working, what's been the journey, and how it has been taken off, from the expert here, who has seen it all. I think he has been at the forefront, MD, NVIDIA India, 18 years, Vishal, or longer?
If I stayed for 18 years, I would have made a little bit more income. No, I'm
Right.
15.
15 years. Before we get into the details, let's start from the beginnings. When people hear about Gen AI in fintech, they often think about chatbots, but I think the scope is much bigger. So, Vishal, maybe you can see what are the most immediate, high-value, impacts that we are seeing in the financial services today.
Yeah, I think that's a great question to start off. Obviously, chatbot basically told the entire humanity how AI is coming to their assistance. It's a great conversational mechanism, but there's a lot more that is happening below that. And when I talk about fintech, I think the best way to look at it is what is at the core of a financial organization. It is all about trust. It's all about decision-making. How does trust and decision-making really happen? Only if you know how to comply, how do you mitigate risk, and most importantly, offer productive tools. And this is exactly what is happening with AI. AI, from generative AI, has moved on towards agentic models. And what you can do with agentic models is really go and solve many problems autonomously. For example, a lady in a small town in Maharashtra wants to basically procure a product. Let's say she doesn't know to fill up the forms, but she knows about the image. She uploads her image. That image gets uploaded. Agentic AI takes on, understands the UPI transactions she's making, understands her GST filing, understands her tone and intent, does the market research, and comes back and says, here is a product, and I can offer as a bank against EMIs. Also speaks to the person in Marathi, explaining what does it really mean. And if she accepts it, then the product becomes yours. That is truly the power of generative AI, agentic AI workflows, and that's where the universe is going, and it's making a colossal difference, not only to new startups, but to established banks.
Thanks. I think that's a wonderful insight, Vishal. Uh, I think moving on, how do you see financial services both a high potential and a high risk domain as compared to other areas like retail or healthcare?
When it comes to fintech, obviously, everybody's money is very dear to them. And you don't take chances with money. But you can take a chance in a retail outlet. You're okay if you get a wrong shirt. You probably return it. You're okay to wait for the next one. But imagine your money goes off, even for a few minutes. The palpitation, the fear, the trust, all gets eroded. And that's why understanding AI becomes really important. Now, what typically happens in AI, a lot of people believe that we have one colossal large language model where everybody's talking about it. They are believing that this large language model has got entire research, all the learnings, all put together there, and that's a good way to solve a problem. Sure, it's just like you and I when we went to college after finishing our schooling. We crammed everything, we were good, but you still need to bring that model and refine that model, what we call as post-training, inside your organization. And a process called reinforcement learning with human loop needs to be applied. Why human? So that a senior professional can teach AI what is the value of your organization, what is the right answer. It can understand the compliances, it can understand your market research, and it can give you that entire input so that now AI is very, very capable of making sure you do exactly the way an individual in an organization will do. But there's a third scaling law. This is also called thinking. And it basically, what it does is that it doesn't respond the way it used to respond earlier in one shot. It takes a complex problem, it understands it, it breaks it down into smaller points, and then does research and gives you options. That opens out an entire market for you. These three laws are interconnected, they're compounding. If you get the arithmetic of it, it starts differentiating. How does it differentiate? India is massive on mobiles. And India speaks in so many languages. And many people don't have the same keyboard of their native language, so they talk on it. When they talk on it, can you talk back to them and really understand how they're going to be saving money, what their goals are, and how can you be an advisor? Till today, the banks used to believe that anybody who's wealthy, which is like 1% of the population, we should have high wealth managers for those. Today, because of AI, its power of thinking, its power of doing it can go down even to a person who probably supports you in day-to-day work. I play a little bit of golf. There's a caddy who carries my bag. The other day he told me, "Sir, can you tell me which mutual fund should I invest in? I can save 20,000 rupees. I said, why are you looking at investing 20,000 rupees? He says, someday I'll be old and I can't carry the bags any longer. I should have a safety net. Now, his intent, I don't think he would have spoken mutual funds ever before. But today, making 20,000 rupees surplus, he's willing to invest, but even I can't really advise him what mutual fund is. But a bank can understand his requirement, understand how he transacts, how he lives, can come back and offer that, hey, here is a great model. SIP in this mutual funds will take you to this zone. So now you're going to that 1.4 billion people in the country rather than going to that 1% of the population. So that's called hyper-personalization. Beyond that, if I am, India is built on SMEs, both medium-sized SMEs, micro-sized SMEs. If I really need to understand that what kind of credit I should afford to a micro SME so that they can become more productive and become bigger, how will I understand it? If I follow the UPI transactions, if I follow their GST filing, if I understand what is the supply chain logistics, if I go and understand from them what are the weather conditions under which they want loans, amalgamation of these hundreds of points coming together, I can kind of create a credit limit for a micro SME, which is really tough. Now, why is it easy in India? It's easy in India because the infrastructure in India, which is the DPI infrastructure, digital public infrastructure, which thanks to the work you all have done, which is UPI for transaction, Aadhaar for identity, is a great rail for generative AI. As very rich data walks onto these rails, it becomes frictionless. And you can reach to any nook and corner. And the opportunity in this room for many of the startups who are here is really this India, 1.4 billion people. You're talking about transaction volumes which are unprecedented. Vishal, what is the transaction volume today at UPI?
Yeah, it's about 20 billion per month.
20 billion per month. Imagine, and this is just growing every day, enormously. Amount of insight that generative AI can understand through this just opens the entire corridor. And if you solve India's problem, which is high volume, low value, you actually become a paradigm for global south. So not only is the world yours, but the world also belongs to you outside India, and you can truly be the platform for the world.
Amazing insights, Vishal. I think it's essentially how do we, give tailored solutions at a cost that is affordable to everyone in the country. I think that's a bottom line. But where does NVIDIA fit in? Is it about compute, or are you enabling domain-specific applications like fraud detection, risk modeling?
And I'm glad that he didn't say, are you a chip company? And for everybody, we build fabulous chips. But we are also an AI infrastructure company. At our very foundation, we are an AI infrastructure company. And this infrastructure that is built for AI is a very complex machinery. So the first thing that I like the audience to take, gone are the days of buying a computer, a node. You got to buy a machinery, which is an AI factory. An AI factory is built right from the time you think about building what you call as a data center, where you store the machinery, but the data center becomes a factory because this is where you bring in your digital experience, your and my data, you apply electricity to it, and you transform that into tokens. There's a token that was spoken, not that token, but token of intelligence, which has a numerical value and a financial value, and you translate that into your workloads. So the first component is the entire AI infrastructure. On top of that is the software layer. The software layer which makes for all developers and everybody who works with Vishal and in any other bank who wants to very quickly develop a code so that you can be more productive. You quickly develop using these libraries and SDKs for your workflows very quickly, and then we give you containers, which are ready-made containers with all dependencies working. So if you want to start, let's say for Hindi-speaking land, a little bank or a microservice for lending, you can quickly adopt that and you can start off exactly like any other big bank will start. All you're doing is you're fine-tuning it with the Hindi-speaking lingo and the common sense and sensibilities of that area. And in that container, you are ready to now become a money lender just like any other bank does. Of course, you need to go through regulations, you got to ensure compliances are in play and put all those together, but you have an opportunity to start on day one. That's the power that NVIDIA brings in. But NVIDIA has also kind of re-christianed the way computing was done. Till yesterday, the computing was all about transactions and retrieving information. Today is all about creating intelligence. How do you create intelligence? When you look at total cost of ownership, and that too, which is limited by power. So one single data center is your compute unit, and is powered by electricity, which ignites it. This electricity, which is performance per watt, gives you how many tokens you can produce. And based on those tokens is the value of that organization. And every bank, every fintech should have an AI factory as you think about your business models.
So how do you see the banks, fintechs leveraging this stack in practice?
So we are now seeing a lot of things happening. First thing that we are seeing is a lot on fraud detection. Earlier, the whole mechanism was very static rules. You looked at patterns, you knew where it was happening. But today, you can do it dynamically. You can now figure out by giving a command saying that, look, we need to stall this ring of fraudsters. Agentic AI can get into work, understand through transactions that are taking place, go into external sites to find out what is happening, figure out where is the menace coming from, and before the transaction really gets duped, you can stall it. It's preventive. We have seen this in India. There's a large bank very much in this region, which is collecting all its due EMIs through phone calls, and people are paying back. A lot of people just require nudging. A lot of people require in their local language to be requested, look, you were due, you didn't pay, can you do it? And there's a lot of collection that is taking place. One of the largest fintechs up in North has embedded the whole fraud detection and personalization in their data pipeline. And that's how they're catering for it. Of course, globally, Amex has seen an enormous improvement in predicting frauds. So predicting a fraud before it happens is a great safety zone. Now you're not suffering. Earlier, you'll suffer, and then you'll find a solution to it. And that's the change that is taking place. And I'm not even getting into what you can do at compliance. But just for your information, every time I would walk into different lanes of banks, the biggest employer was the IT department. And they were hiring people because there was new regulation coming, maybe from RBI, maybe because of SOX compliance, internal audits. And all they were doing was moving papers and loads of paper week after week for one audit or the other audit. Today, with generative AI, you can teach. You can now educate them on compliance. And if new regulation comes in, a human can walk and explain to them what does it mean, and it can become part of his repertoire. And therefore, everything gets automated. Opportunities are just mind-boggling. It's just opening out.
Sorry, yeah. I think I just wanted to move to the opportunities, and you mentioned that. So we typically hear Gen AI will save costs, But what are the opportunities from a business potential, revenue, increase in revenue? What are the broader opportunities if Gen AI is deployed and responsibly?
So a lot of people are looking at generative AI, how can I make my current workloads efficient? And it's a good way to understand how generative AI works. But I think the magic really lies in transforming your businesses. If something is working with you hand in hand and can make you understand what's happening around you, there's an opportunity to create businesses. We spoke some of them. I'll go through it once again. hyper-personalization for entire 1.4 billion Indians. That's a great way of doing it. We are talking about reaching to corners of businesses which normally get neglected in the true way as you manage businesses which are large size, but you're personalizing based on them. That's a new way of doing things. There can be a completely new way of generating, even in fraud, you can actually create an entire business model. If I'm going to protect you, if I'm going to secure you before you lose, will you give me a premium to build this up? I can go into insurance. Now, typically in insurance for a small corporate who's insured himself, we talk about static premiums. We can make it into a dynamic premium. We can say that things are stable, supply chains are working well, there's no forecast for any kind of hurricane coming. Looks like I'm okay to save you some more money. Or this is going to be a difficult time. Are you happy to pay more premium so that I protect you against it and your losses come down? So if you make it dynamic, there can be an entire new business model that can be built up.
So do you think we are at a generational shift like the way we were when mobile banking started?
I think I'll go even one step. So mobiles basically brought banks to your pocket. Generative AI is bringing advisors with it. Now, as a combination of a new distribution channel, which India is pretty much used to, and a wealth advisor, a bank advisor, an insurance advisor, can help you proactively in your language, continue to support your needs. And then I go back to this friend of mine who helps me with my golf bag, and he can get all those answers and probably better answers. And instead of waiting for 5 days for me, he can invest there and there itself. And for the bank or for the fintech, that's income. And that's prosperity for whole humanity. And that's why they're saying generative AI is the foundation for a new economic growth and societal progress.
But of course, no innovation comes without the rest. So Gen AI is like, we are putting a Ferrari engine into a rocket. So how do we put proper brakes and safety checks when we actually go ahead and start implementing all these use cases?
You just said Ferrari. The race in Singapore just got over the other day. And the world's best driver who moved from Mercedes to Ferrari is struggling despite the platform being the best. But everybody knows the magic is going to come moment the communication increases, engineers, drivers' feedback, everything works together. However, generative AI in its original avatar has a capability of hallucinating it. Now, how does hallucination be stalled? If you go and create RAG, retrieval augmented generative, on your very research papers, compliance papers, and the way your processes work, and connect it back to the ground truth, then what you've done, you've added value there itself. You go further up. You want to make sure that there's no bias. Involve reinforcement learning with human feedback so that you can build human inputs to it. And every time there's a change, make sure the feedback goes in. What it does, it creates a reward model, and the value system keeps getting improved. So there are already techniques and technologies to safeguard it. Of course, guardrail is a great way so that you work within the confines of what you are asked to do. So there are multiple ways that today the technology is in play to help you be more productive.
Obviously, you touched upon the hallucination, Vishal, but what about the bias and fairnesses, especially when it comes to customer treatments, and maybe also a cultural shift inside the financial institutions. How do we manage that?
So let's start with the cultural part because that's the difficult part, right? Everybody gets used to it. Hey, I have a great tool. Can I improve it by 10%, 20%? The whole organization is busy trying to basically demonstrate that, yes, I understand how this technology is applied. I'm improving my workloads. But the beauty of this revolution is about transformation. How do you do transformation? And for that, anybody who's a CEO, founder, must understand the entire data pipeline. You have to understand how data comes in, how it wrangles, how it munges, how does it work, what is required. But if you get that, anybody can come up with a strategy how to make a market. And that's the only way that you're going to reach that level of deployment. Second thing, this is not an IT project. I did touch upon the concept called AI factory. I saw some heads nodding. A lot of people didn't figure out what it means. AI factory is a factory where raw material comes in and a finished good goes out and you make money. It translates into currency. What did you do with computing before that? You stored information and you retrieved it when you needed. It was cost. So you're moving from cost to capital expense. How do you put capital expense? Only if the board and the CEO understands it, they will put capital expense and will set it up as a strategic initiative. Then really comes, how does IT bring up digital counterparts into the system? Just like how humans are brought in and how we groom them, monitor them, mentor them, and build up, exactly the same way, our digital counterparts need to be brought in. And I believe that IT will soon be HR for digital species. So this is a cultural shift, and that's what we need to get used to.
Yep. I think moving on, Vishal, I think from a future perspective, where do you see Gen AI in the next 3 to 5 years? And what would be the use cases? Will be the productivity enhancements or the risk engines or, hyper personalization as you already spoke about? In the next 3 to 5 years, your bets.
So you're saying when I come to meet you in 2028, if we are here, what should we be talking about? I think it's akin to electricity. It'll be both invisible and visible. In the back end, it's going to be invisible. All your core areas, risk, compliance, creditworthiness, they all embed generative AI, and there'll be many of them working autonomously to the degree you want it to work, and giving you feedback, new products will be coming up. But on the foreground, it's going to be very visible. It'll be visible for each one of us who carry the smartphones, and I believe almost 1 billion Indians carry a smartphone. There's going to be an advisor. They'll be talking on different topics, including finance, and it'll be helping their growth. It's going to be very visible. What I definitely know in 2028, India is going to be talking about population scale applications. I also know India will be at the zenith of use cases. And I also believe in 2028, we'll be calling Mumbai the finance capital with intelligence rather than just the finance capital. So I'm quite certain about it. I look forward to seeing you in 2028.
Thank you, Vishal. Thanks for a rich and candid conversation. If I have to distill this conversation to 3 parts, I think the first one I would say is Gen AI is impacting fintech moving fast, and I think we will move from the hype to real deployment. Very, very mission critical applications will be live soon. The real power lies not just in efficiency, but in looking at new use cases, new potentials, and obviously looking at the customer experience. Obviously, this needs a lot of guardrails, the integrity, transparency, And obviously the most important one, the regulatory alignment is very, very critical. I think these are the three key points that I would say, that we will stay back. I think it's definitely Gen AI is going to impact financial services in a big way, and it is definitely going to change our lives, and very soon. It's not going to be very, very long term. I think a lot of technology enhancement that we have seen, we spoke about 5 to 10 years, but I think maybe I don't think it would be 28, maybe 26, 27. We will see all the initiatives that we spoke about, especially on the financial services should be live in a year or two is what I would be betting. Thank you. Thanks to all the audiences for coming so early, and hopefully this made a lot of sense to all of you. Thank you.
Before you clap, just one point, which I must say. Come, let's build for India in India and build in India for the globe. Come, let's make each one of us proud by truly making India the global fintech capital, and let Mumbai be intelligent Mumbai. Thank you very much.